Hello everyone and welcome back to the video. In today's video we're going to be talking about Battle of BC5, which in my opinion is the most important event of the year. There was an insane amount of talent that showed up here, and it was overall just an amazing tournament. For your top 16 placements you have Mudace, DeBuzz, Light, and MKLeo in 13th. In 9th you have Armadillo, Siski, Gluttony, and Tweak. 7th you have Zomba and Yoshidora. 5th you have Meister and Mia. 4th you have Kame. 3rd Shuton. 2nd Aquila, and 1st Spargo. We have a lot to talk about today, so let's get right into it. Now, we're going to be grouping people together a lot in this video just because we have so much to talk about. And the first group that we're going to be talking about is going to be America, and specifically where they overperformed, because there isn't a ton of people from America that did super well. The first one is going to be Zomba. Zomba popped off this tournament. He beat Ken, Tweak, and Leo. He beat 2 top 5 players plus Ken, plus a bunch of other good people, and he was the only American player to make top 8, so ridiculous showing from Zomba. He popped off, and you had some other good performances. You know, you had Mudace and DeBuzz getting 13th. 9th place for Tweak. Though it's for Tweak, not an amazing placement for anyone else. It would be pretty good, and along the way, Tweak did knock out both Light and Riddles, and I know Riddles isn't technically American, but you know what, he's in that NA category. And speaking of that NA category, Armadillo was on something else this tournament. This is one of, if not the best Lucario performances that we have ever seen, getting all the way to 9th place, beating Andres FN and Shuton before losing on day 3. He looked incredible here. Just, again, an insane placement from Armadillo, and he's one of those characters, Lucario, when they do well in tournament, it is so scary, because sometimes you're just dying at like 80, sometimes you're dying at 40, sometimes you're dying at 150, so it makes Lucario a bit of a polarizing character, but we definitely saw the better sides of it this tournament because Armadillo popped off super hard. And the other two people that I want to mention that popped off super hard are going to be Kronos, and they're going to be JDV. We'll start off with JDV because that boy was cooking. All I have to say about JDV is go watch his set versus Ken, just the last like 3 seconds of the game, because that'll basically tell you about his entire performance, because he was schmoving, had a really nice loses run from him, the best placement that we've had from a Pac-Man, and also he eliminated Ken, the previous winner of Battle of BC, before top 24 started. He also got wins on Ouch, Pack Street, Grape, all in the loser setup bracket. Absolutely popped off here. And Kronos didn't quite make top 25, but he got a bunch of really good wins along the way. Most notably, he beat Shattuck really early on in the bracket. Kind of unfortunate that they had to play each other, but really happy with Kronos high placing Snake at the tournament because of Holokage. Did have a bit of an underperformance, and then for the rest of NA, it was just okay placements. Actually, Base Mage. Base Mage was another really good one, getting top 25 for him as well. He ended in 17th alongside Onin and Cola. Happy that Cola's kind of slowly getting back to that top level. It feels like he's been ramping up throughout all of 2023. Like, he started a little bit slow, getting better and better. I think we're seeing that with DeBuzz and Zomba as well. So NA, and more specifically America / Canada, they did okay in this tournament, but it definitely wasn't anything amazing. Also, something that I forgot to mention, I want to give a little bit more detail to Base Mages and Kronos runs. Base Mage in the loser side of bracket was able to beat Nemu, Capitancito, Slime, and Mystery to make top 24. And though Kronos didn't make top 24, he was able to beat, like I said earlier, Shattuck really early on, as well as Samuel, who actually run the event, so shouts to Samuel, Embo Z, and Neo before falling to Tarek. So really good runs from both of those guys. Again, Kronos being the highest placing Snake at this tournament, so huge shouts to him for that. And Big D as well. Big D did fall a little bit short, but to be fair, he had to run into Kame in the loser side of bracket after getting upset by Mystery, so it's just a bit unfortunate. But Big D in the end was a winner because he got picked up by Luminosity, so huge shouts to Big D for that. That is a massive pickup for both Luminosity and the Smash team in general. They're really helping us out here, so that's all I wanted to mention. Again, if there was an NA player that I left out, just let me know down below, but back to the video. Next up, I want to talk about Europe, because Europe farmed this tournament. This is by far the best tournament they've ever had, despite no one being in the top 8. Just the average level of play for them was like nothing we've seen before. You have Tarek making top 24, beating Felix and Kronos in the loser side of bracket, as well as getting a huge upset over Shiny Mark, so that's a really good run from Tarek. Again, one of the best runs we've seen from Greninja in a little bit, because that's a character that's gotten kind of a little bit of quiet. Andres FN also had a really nice run, being sore in the losers bracket. He did, unfortunately, fall to Skyjack before making it to top 25, but the stars of Europe are, of course, going to be Gluttony and Siski. Specifically Siski, though, because Siski's been having a little bit of a rough 2023. Both majors that he's been to, he didn't perform at, but this one, I mean, he turned up, because he got wins on both Riddles and Yoshidora in day 2, which are, again, insane upsets. Those are both players that are going to be probably around the top 10 area. Riddles will be top 10. Yoshidora is going to be pretty close. And then for Gluttony as well, he just kind of always performs. This is going to be his worst placement. But again, when ninth place at one of the biggest majors of the year is your worst placement, it just kind of shows how good you are. He was able to beat Justice, Neo, and Light in the winner's set of brackets. So huge shouts to Europe. Again, really impressed by them here. And just to name a couple other European players that did well, you had Lugi getting 25th. And honestly, Lugi's bracket was just really hard. Like, he had to go into Spargo and Kame, who got first and fourth. So honestly, a little bit unlucky for Lugi there. You also had Dimitri, who played Piranha Plant, getting 33rd. This is the best place that we've seen from a Piranha Plant since like Brood way back. So huge shouts to Dimitri. Again, you never see Piranha Plant doing well nowadays. You had Quick getting 33rd as well. Mr. R is going to get 65th, which is a little bit low, but Sheik is a character that sometimes you're going to have a little bit of volatile placements with. So overall, really impressed by Europe. I hope we can see them continue it. And this is without arguably their best player, Bloom, even in attendance. I also just forgot to mention Mexico during my NA segment because I kind of just forget that they're part of NA because they're so cracked as an individual region. But out of players that didn't make top 8, you had Che getting 25th, which is pretty nice. SkyJ getting 17th, losing to Leo, unfortunately, in losers bracket. But you had Leo out at 13th, which is obviously irregular. This is massive. This is his worst placement maybe ever. I think Umabor is the only other time he's gotten this low of a placement. Umabor was like kind of a red herring. I think it was like 33rd or something. They're crazy. And it was also like 3 years ago. But this from Leo, it's really low. In the winner's set of bracket, it was all ages. He ended up losing a set to Zomba. Loser's set of bracket, he tried out the Baloth, but he lost his long-awaited run back to Kame. And with this placement, he is not the best player in the world. He physically cannot be for the ranking season of the first half of 2023. Even if he wins every other event that he goes to, he's still not going to get that number 1 title unless Spargo or Aquila bomb out super hard. So a little bit sad end of an era, but that doesn't mean he can't get his title back. He is still MK Leo. He is still that caliber of player, still incredible. So can he be the number 1 player in the world again? Yes, absolutely. Is he number 1 right now? Well, no, he's not. And let's talk about the region that undoubtedly won this event, and that is going to be Japan. Japan farmed. You had 5 players getting top 8 in Aquila, Shuton, Kameme, Mia, and Yoshidora. You also had Yara getting 17th. Ken 25th is pretty much their only underperformance. Neo with a 33rd. Ryuo with a 33rd. Like Japan, they just showed up here. We're looking really strong throughout the tournament. And honestly, it's not really a surprise. Like, if you've been watching Japanese tournaments, Kaguribi, if you've just been paying attention to Japanese players coming to America, you'd expect them to do well, but this is exceptionally well as a lot of the Japanese players making some pretty crazy losers runs. We'll talk about Kameme's and Shuton's in a little bit more detail because they both deserve their own segments, but I want to give shout outs to Yoshidora because this was his first ever tournament abroad, at least to my knowledge, and he performed phenomenally. He did lose to Siski in the winner's side of bracket and then Kameme in the loser's side of bracket. I think it's the first time he's ever lost to Kameme, but along the way, he was able to beat Base Mage, DeBuzz, and Armadillo, and the DeBuzz win is really impressive because he is like really good versus Yoshi, so shout out to him for that one. And then in the winner's side of bracket, he was also able to pick up wins on Machu and Chegg. So Yoshidora, really impressed by his run. Again, it's really hard to perform their first time traveling abroad, and he managed to do it, so shouts to him for that. But before we talk about those losers ones, we gotta talk about the double Game & Watch in 5th and Meister and Mia, starting off with the strongest head of Luminosity in Meister, who was able to beat Nestboy 12, Mystery, Tweak, and Gluttony all in the winner's side of bracket before losing to Spargo and Shuton. And then you had Mia, who was able to beat Lemon, Cola, Onin, Zomba, and then he lost to Aquila. And Kameme Game 5 for both the sets that he lost. And both these guys looked incredible at this tournament. I think it also made people realize how broken Game Watch is. Like, this character is definitely top 10, at least in my opinion. I think that's shifted for a lot of people, but I was just, again, incredibly impressed, especially by Meister. Meister has been turning up this season. The last 3 tournaments that he's been to have just been performance after performance. 4th at Collision, 3rd at Low Tide, 5th at Battle of BC, and even before that, it was only a 25th at Genesis, 33rd at Let's Make Big Boost. Meister's someone, whenever I think about him, I'm like, oh, he's having like a really bad season, but when you look at his results, no, he's not. He has 1 or 2 bad tournaments, and then he just goes so hard. I'm really, again, impressed by Meister, even though that title of best game watch has definitely been stolen away by Mia. He is still a top caliber threat, and then Mia, of course, I mean, he's just amazing. He definitely could have won both those sets versus Aquila and Kame. Had a super unfortunate SD in game 2 versus Kame, but it was with the Mii Brawler, so do you know what? I'm going to let it slide because, hey, we like seeing Mii Brawler win here. But again, huge shouts to the Game Watch players. They did really well here. Best title of Game Watch, even though it definitely still goes to Mia because his season has just been unreal. I don't think it's as free as most people are saying. And let's talk about the two losers runs of the tournament, starting off with Kame, who has had a bit of an up and down season. Starts off really strong, 4th at Umabora, then 17th at Genesis, 9th at Kagaribi 9, 2nd at Subigeki 13, 2nd at Wave 4, 17th at Meisuma, 33rd at Kagaribi 10, but then he has this losers run. He beats Larry Lure, then loses to Mutis, which again, not really a bad loss at all. And then he just beats like 30 top 20 players in a row. He beats Big D, Lugi, Onin, MK Leo, Glutoni, Yoshidora, and Mia before falling to Shuton. This is an insane run from Kame. We saw a bit of Mega Man come out again, mainly Sora, especially versus Leo. The Sora was going to be the thing that gave him the most success. We also saw the Brawler come out one game, and even though he did win by a technicality, he still won. So Mii Brawler, that's like a top 10 character. You better have a Mii Brawler secondary for the 2023 year because, again, that character is ridiculous. But let's talk about Shuton now, who had a nice 3rd place from him, getting wins on Embo Z, Skyjay, lost to Armadillo in a crazy set because, again, it's Lucario, and Lucario's winning, you know it's wild. And then in a row, he beats JDV, Mudace, Siski, Zomba, Meister, and Kameme before falling to Aquila. And this run is pretty much going to solidify Shuton in the top 10 for this year. I have him right now at the number 9 spot because I think the top 10, it's pretty solid except for that number 10 spot. Before this, I had the top 8 pretty solid, you know, Sonics, Riddles, Light, Tweak, MK Leo, Aquila, Spargo, and Mia. Now Shuton's going to be in there for that 9 spot. We only need one more to fit up the top 10, but really nice tournament from Shuton again, just kind of securing his season. He's been having a good one, you know, had a little bit of ups and downs. 25th at Kagaribi, 10's not great, 9th at Meisuma, top 12, but he won Wave 4, he won Kowloon 5. Shuton is just an incredible player, and when he's beating people, he is destroying people. He just looks so much better for them, so huge shout out to Shuton, really impressed by him, and I hope to see him continue this, because good Shuton is so good watch. Now let's talk about the number 2 of the tournament, and that is going to be Aquila, and he looked incredible here. I mean, it's Aquila. He doesn't really look bad. He was able to beat Grape, Dark Wizzy, Dabuz, Siski, and Mia before getting double eliminated by Spargo. He also beat Shuton in the loser setup bracket, and also something that I think is very important, we saw Aegis entirely versus Spargo, except when he brought out the Donkey Kong, which actually did pretty well. And of the 3 matchups there, Donkey Kong is low-key the best matchup versus Cloud. Like, it's definitely better than Steve, and even though it didn't work out super well on the second game that he tried it, that first game was very winnable. So if you want to see Aquila's Donkey Kong, which is crazy by the way, highly recommend you check out Grand Finals. But I think the Aegis in the future is going to be really important for him because Steve versus Cloud is a very tough matchup. I'd say it's Steve's hardest matchup. It's not quite unwinnable because, you know, it is still Steve, but it's definitely one that you don't want to fight. So if you can go Aegis, and Aquila's Aegis is very good, you would definitely favor that. So while I think Spargo is still a little bit ahead right now, Aquila just clearly has a mental barrier versus him. He can't figure it out. I do think that that's something he will be able to figure out with the Aegis, and again, it's a really nice tournament from him. The only person that can consistently make him bleed is Spargo, which is just super impressive. But let's finally talk about the best player in the world, and that is, of course, going to be Spargo. Out of everyone that was in contention for number 1 in the world, Spargo took the longest to win a major. You know, he had a really rough summit, getting his worst placement ever in the post-quarantine era, and after that, he has just been winning. He's won everything. He won a major upset, only dropping 1 set to Leo and beating Leo twice, as well as Riddles, Big D, ouch, bunch of other players. Kagaribi 10, he wins that after having a crazy losers run, only losing to Yara, and then just beating basically every top Japanese player, and he wins Battle of BC without dropping a single set, beating Luigi, Mudace, Armadillo, Meister, and Aquila twice, and he wasn't even pushed to Game 5. The person that took him the closest is going to be Mudace, who is, before this, his bracket demon. So not only did he beat his bracket demon, not only did he beat the second best player in the world, but he's pretty much secured his title of number 1 in the world. He's won 2 of the P-tier events of the season. Pretty much everything else is incredible for him. He looks like the best player in the world. He places like the best player in the world, and he's just amazing. Super happy that Spargo got this. We're going to see if he can continue this era of new Smash going into 2023, because if you look at this tournament, it feels like we're in a new era. Some people that are doing well previously, not getting their performances. There's a lot of rising talent that's just been farming as of late, and hey, I'm all here for it. If Spargo's going to give me that kind of gameplay like he was yesterday, then I'm definitely down for the new Overlord. And I thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Sport's been absolutely unreal. Again, if there's a player that I didn't mention, please let me know down below. There was a lot of runs at this tournament. And yeah, that's all I got to say. Thank you guys for everything, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.